A new dawn is rising over southern Africa. This is home to some of the world's most iconic wildlife, and it's where a conservation revolution is unfolding. As an alarming number of species find their future hanging in the balance, a dedicated few conservationists and veterinarians are fighting to save their lives.
Poaching is rife, poaching is everywhere.
Are mostly those animals that come in conflict with humans. Elephants, rhinos, cheetahs, leopards, lions, hyenas.
The biggest challenge for them in the wild is human activities.
Amid this struggle, these conservationists are pioneering new ways to rescue, rehabilitate, and release vulnerable wildlife.
The handbook for rehabilitating wildlife, wild animals, has not been written. We write the handbook as we go.
The goal is always release. Sometimes the release is in 5 years, sometimes it's in 10 years, sometimes it's in 5 weeks.
They don't just survive, they actually thrive when they go back to the ocean, and that always warms my heart.
For every animal that you manage to save, for every animal that you manage to put back into the wild, it's worth it. So never give up and never lose heart.
This is Inside Africa, saving endangered patients. In the heart of Namibia, a pioneering mission is underway. This is TimBila Nature Reserve. A former hunting farm, the 33,000 hectares of land was taken over by the Naankuse Foundation, created by Rudy and Marlies van Vuren. They added TimBila to the foundation's other conservation sites as a home of second chances, this one specifically for animals who have been displaced or come into conflict with humans.
We are now putting landscapes back together with the help of investors. We're at the point that we can put animals back in the wild. That was always a dream and a passion. Nobody wants to put animals in captivity, but there is a solution now. We have a choice. We can make decisions for the animals.
This is a place of healing, not just for animals, but also for the relationship between humans, wildlife, and the land. The team at Naankuse believe all can not only coexist, but also thrive.
How does big open landscapes fit into human-wildlife mitigation? How does sharing information with farmers fit into it? How does talking to farmers fit into it? And how can we help people coexist with wildlife? And so that's really where it started for me.
So for us, human-animal conflict is one of our cornerstones. We don't go species-specific, not the charismatic ones that bring the funding in. It doesn't matter what type of animal it is and what species, we try and help.
Since TimBila opened nearly 4 years ago, the operation has grown extensively and a wide range of species have been reintroduced.
Over the years, we've looked at, you develop a toolbox for human-wildlife conflict mitigation. We've seen that creating big, safe havens like Tumbila is one of those tools in our conflict toolbox. Tumbila is 38,000 hectares. It's fenced off, yes, but it's a safe haven for conflict elephants that we took off the hands of the government. It's a safe haven now for conflict lions that were rescued in the northwest of the country.
Desert lions, that is an iconic species in our country. That's such a wow. People come to Namibia to see it. We proclaim these animals as our problem animals, and then they either starve to death, they get poisoned, they get shot, but they need to go. So for us, it's important then to go in and reach out and see how can we, in the first place, educate people. How can you farm an area where, rain is not enough, so there's not enough food for cattle, and then the cattle encroach in areas where the lions were, or game species live. How do you educate people like that? Can they coexist? And how to do it? And then if an animal needs to be removed, we do make sure that we are right there in the front to put our hands up and go the extra mile.
One major project was the translocation and then rehabilitation of 15 elephants, including Pete.
So Pete was a young teenage bull when we got in, and unfortunately Pete was at that age where he actually needs guidance. He actually needs that mature older bull to just teach him the ways of the world.
With so many key species on the reserve, anti-poaching units are crucial in protecting them.
Specifically, of course, our rhinos. Poaching is rife, poaching is everywhere. So even more so, we need these people. We need their help. Not just there just to do boundary fence patrols. If you go and immobilize an elephant, they're there. If you go and immobilize a rhino, they're there, and they hold the bag of fluids, or they help you turn it around. We're also trying to support the community. So we do try and employ APU from local communities, so that we also support that community financially in that sense.
When animals are rescued and come in injured or wounded, not all of them make it. It's a huge challenge for the team, both clinically and emotionally.
Yeah, it gets to you. But luckily, I think this is where teamwork comes in. And I'm very lucky. I have an excellent team. Yeah, we've had a couple of tough cases. We've had a couple of difficult situations where you have to focus on the animal. You can't really put any emotion into it. I'm sorry, I know I'm very emotional now, but I'm thinking of a couple of cases that we've had. It's horrible. However, what keeps you motivated is your team, and what keeps you motivated is the fact that next time you can do better, so you try and do better. It stays with you forever, but I think that is the motivation.
In the vast wild bushlands of Zimbabwe, an urgent mission is unfolding to safeguard a national icon teetering on the brink. It's the pangolin. Predominantly poached for its scales for use in Eastern traditional medicine and occasionally as a source of bushmeat, the pangolin is one of the most trafficked animals on the planet.
Pangolin trafficking is a very real problem, and it is unlike any of the other trafficking species like rhino and ivory. I think in Africa particularly, pangolin poaching has been there for a lot longer, and trafficking has been there for a lot longer. We just haven't been able to identify it.
For Zimbabweans, this humble creature is more than just an adorable mammal. It's part of their culture. Still, strict laws and harsh penalties have not stopped poaching's significant threat, according to Zimbabwe Parks.
Zimbabwe, as a government in 1975, placed the pangolin on specially protected list. And that would indicate that all of us as a country were protective around this species. So I think for Zimbabwe, we had a little bit of a head start because a pangolin is so revered in our culture and is protected, and only a chief can actually receive a pangolin.
Lisa Highwood is the founder and CEO of the Tiki Highwood Foundation, which operates as a 24-hour wildlife rescue center. The pangolin is the foundation's flagship species, and it aims to not only rescue, but to rehabilitate and release these highly threatened animals.
For us in Zimbabwe, and the work that the foundation has done, is we have harnessed that cultural reverence around this species, and we've worked with the authorities and highlighted their plight, and through that networking and dialoguing, the authorities have come fully on board, and we've been able to collectively work as one nation to protect the species, be it through the judicial process, be it through the law enforcement process.
The foundation is on the front lines of saving rescued pangolins. As the animals arrive at the foundation, it's a race against time.
When a pangolin first comes in, the first 72 hours is critical. The reason for this is we need to establish the health and well-being of that animal. Certainly within the first hour of retrieval, we'll establish whether there's any severe injury or condition that needs to be treated with our consultant veterinarian, Dr. Mark.
Unfortunately, most of our patients that we see coming in can have quite severe trauma, and this is usually caused by being held in captivity by people who are not aware of their requirements, their diet mainly. So we'll have a lot of constricting wounds and injuries. Sometimes these animals are kept in drums which have water in, so they have softening of the feet. We have damage from wire. They're occasionally tied up with twine, which can act like a tourniquet or a snare. They're dehydrated, massively underweight, because they haven't been able to eat, sometimes for 2 weeks or more. That is our main concern, is the starvation. That has a tremendously negative effect on the body.
The animal's unique physiology presents significant challenges for veterinary care.
They're quite an amazing species. They are so different to mammals in lots of ways. For instance, just the simple act of putting an intravenous drip into them, we've had to modify techniques where in most animals you'd use a vein on the leg, or if necessary in the jugular vein. And with pangolins we use the central tail vein. We've found that there's a venous plexus at the bottom of on the underside of the vertebra of the tail, where we can put a catheter into there and administer fluids that way.
Beyond rescue, the Tiki Highwood Foundation works in partnership with organizations like African Parks, ensuring that rescued pangolins are released into suitable, safe habitats.
This is an enigmatic species, okay? This is a medium-sized mammal that the world has pretty much not known much about. Well, it's an unknown species. So from a conservation point of view, there's so many points that you have to consider when you're reintroducing an animal into a wild area. Can they feed themselves? Are they walking properly? Can they dig? Can they hold themselves in a ball? Can they protect themselves? These are all basic 101s that need to be ticked off.
Organizations like Tiki Highwood Foundation and Naankuse are working together to learn more about this endangered species.
Unfortunately, even though being the most trafficked animal in the world, pangolins, they're also the least researched. Yes, it is busy changing now. We've got a couple of excellent mentors and researchers and scientists and veterinarians. Zimbabwe, South Africa, even here in Namibia, we've got an excellent researcher who's trying to change that.
Despite great progress in recent years, the mission to raise awareness over the plight of the pangolin continues.
In the latter 10 or so years, more organizations, more groups have become more aware of the pangolin, and so that in turn has highlighted the plight and the volumes of animals that have been poached or trafficked within Africa. So I think a key factor is to create awareness and to continue with that awareness going forward.
I am optimistic because I believe in pangolins. I believe that they've endured a lot as a species, and I think because they're as old as they are, they will persist for much longer than we give them credit. All we need to do is provide the safe spaces for them to do that.
On the east coast of South Africa, more than 300 kilometers north of Durban, something remarkable is about to happen. This is the moment conservationists live for. Rehabilitated sea turtles are returning to the wild. It's the culmination of countless hours of dedicated work. Behind every release, there's a story of survival, dedication, and incredible human effort.
Every sea turtle that comes into our facility, we hope to rehab successfully and release. So the goal is always release. Sometimes the release is in 5 years, sometimes it's in 10 years, sometimes it's in 5 weeks, but we always act with that goal in mind.
This is what drives the team at the Turtle Rehabilitation Center at Ushaka Marine World. They are part of a conservation journey that began more than 60 years ago with the founding of the South African Association for Marine Biological Research.
The sea turtle conservation story in South Africa is really special because it all started in the early 1960s when the old original Natal Parks Board realized there are actually turtles nesting along our coastline in the Ismangaliso area now.
Over the last 6 decades, marine biologists, including Mareka Muson, have observed a remarkable recovery in the amount of sea turtles nesting on the South African east coast. And that's thanks to greater awareness and conservation.
So if we look at the stats from those days, like 1963, 1964, there were about 6 leatherback nesting females observed, and nowadays they're between 60 and 80, so slow recovery. But with the loggerheads, there were about 100 to 200, and we now see over 1,000 nesting females a season. And that to me is absolute magic.
From your angle, you can also see that on the shell itself, there's a little bit of fracture happening there, and that is because she is our rescued turtle that came back in 2022.
But the fight is far from over. Threats persist, especially from plastics in our oceans. The Ushaka Marine World team hopes to inspire every visitor here to take action.
The biggest challenge for them in the wild is human activities, such as pollution. So as we people, we can do better in order to save the turtles by reducing the amount of single-use plastic bags in order to save these wonderful animals for the next future generations to see them.
We recently had one whose gut was full of plastic, and this is actually devastating to see an animal perish because of that.
Once a stranded or injured turtle is reported by a member of the public, a wider network of trained experts mobilizes.
So when a turtle washes up, it's usually a member of the public who notifies, most often the NSRI or the lifeguards, and then we just sort out, like we call it a turtle Uber. Somebody brings it, it gets assessed of course on the beach, so we prepare to receive it here. We've got a fantastic veterinary team and our turtle rehab team.
As the turtle arrives, we often do a clinical examination and have a look if there's any damage on the outside of the turtle, if there are any wounds, if they're old or new wounds, and then we'll do further diagnostics, which often involve taking a blood sample and looking under the microscope and seeing if there are any indications of inflammation inside the animal. The next step we'll do are a set of radiographs or x-rays, as you may know them, and that's very important to assess the lungs of the animal and to have a look at the gut and see if there's anything stuck in the gut. And then the diagnostics will get more and more complicated, as if the animal is very sick, we'll do everything. If the animal is looking quite lively, then we'll only do a few diagnostic steps.
Once the animal is stable, a long process of rehabilitation begins.
Turtles are amazing in the way they heal, so we don't ever really like to say that a turtle is unreleasable until it's very drastic.
But for some animals, like Kina, a permanent home is needed.
Yeah, Kina is a very special turtle, so she'll stay with us forever because she's got 2 amputated front flippers. She was rescued up the coast. We are not 100% sure what happened to it. Could have been a shark incident. very possibly being entangled in ghost fishing gear by the looks of her, the little shoulders.
We just accommodate her, we enrich her life, she tells a story to a lot of our guests. So she is an ambassador for the ocean, and we just make her as comfortable as possible. But a lot of the turtles, we reassess their status either every 6 months or a year, because ultimately we want to release them.
It's quite a big tag, so I'm wondering, I don't know if you want to go over one scoot or we try and put it further up on this.
I think we must try to put it further up.
Tracking turtles after they're released is vital to monitor the next phase of their journey. It provides invaluable scientific data and inspiring stories.
So Yoshi's story is obviously absolutely incredible. I assumed she'll go up the east coast, but she first decided to go up the west coast, into Namibia, all the way up to Angola, then did a proper U-turn, came all the way back. This took her a year. The tracking part is really, for me, one of the most special parts of the turtle journey. And it's because they go on these amazing journeys. And they often do something that I don't expect at all. So I'm sure everybody knows the story of Yoshi, the turtle, after 20 years after human care, who literally traveled for 40,000 kilometers and crossed the Indian Ocean all the way to Australia, and she was an Aussie after all.
Education and awareness is one of the greatest tools for conservation efforts. By sharing the unique stories of the animals that make their way through here, the team hopes to inspire visitors to become more responsible stewards of the ocean.
We try by all means to inspire good action by telling stories of our rehabilitated turtles and how they have survived. And from there, we just want everyone to participate and take care of these precious animals for our future generations to also see them.
Though Southern Africa's iconic wildlife faces escalating threats, the dedication of veterinarians and conservationists offer enduring hope for their survival.
I feel very fortunate to have such a great team, and every animal here is definitely better off having had their care.
I almost thought conservation should be evidence-based. If you want to help the animals, then helping them by caring for them is one way, but there's also another way, and that's preventing the conflict to happen. And how can we help people coexist with wildlife?
For every animal that you manage to save, for every animal that you manage to put back into the wild, it's worth it. So never give up and never lose heart.